Awesome. Welcome, everyone. I'm seeing a lot of names coming into the attendees list. So this is awesome. Thank you all so much for joining. We're just going to give one more minute here for everyone to join and get their audio set up, and then we'll get started here in just one moment. Thank you so much for your patience. If they're just joining, we're going to give one more minute for everyone to join and get their audio set up. So thank you so much. We will get started here in just one moment. All right, let's get started here. Again, thank you all so much for joining. My name is Annie Mirvong. I'm a product manager here at Pipeline, and I'm also joined by Kimberly Longhauser on our customer success team, and Lauren Kasten. I'm going to butcher your last name, and as someone with a difficult last name, I'm so sorry, Lauren. But Lauren is going to be answering questions in the Q&A box. Please I'll do a quick kind of overview of where you can find everything here in just one second. So we are going to be focusing today on our automations section. So over the last 6 weeks, our product and engineering teams we've been working really hard on an overhaul of the automation section within the account. So today we're really going to be taking some time to dive into what those changes entail, what that means for you as a pipeline user. And we're going to be taking a look at some of the use cases for automations. So if you are new to Pipeline, I do just want to kind of make a note that this webinar is kind of advanced. So it's going to be a little bit more, specific to the account settings. There's going to be, more of a focus on some of the more advanced areas of utilizing automations and, streamlining some of those existing workflows that you maybe already have set. That being said, if you are looking for resources, we have onboarding webinars that are a great way to get a wonderful overview of the platform. You'll also see the lovely Kimberly running those as well. So, and we'll share resources to those webinars after this webinar today. So I just wanted to make that clear. The other thing to note is that this webinar is it's specific for admins. That being said, if you are a basic user that doesn't have access to the account settings, and you'll know this because with the person icon in the upper right-hand corner, you wouldn't have this account settings option. If you don't have access to the account settings, do not worry. Maybe you can take some, knowledge home and share that with maybe the person that is the admin on your account as some ways to kind of improve your guys' existing use of the platform. So I did just want to make that clear. If you're like in here and like, I've never seen this area of the platform, that's probably why. So again, automations, we are super excited about this webinar. As I was formerly a customer success manager here at Pipeline, so I'm seeing a lot of familiar names in the list here. I've worked with a lot of you. Automations are something that as customer success managers, we really heavily advocate for. They're a wonderful way to streamline your workflows and really kind of reduce a lot of those mundane tasks that you might be repeating over and over within the platform. So we're going to be kind of talking through some of the different ways you can utilize those automations. A couple quick housekeeping items before we jump in. Please, please, please ask questions. You'll see a Q&A icon in the Zoom toolbar. And those of you that have joined webinars before, you know that I always say this, please jump in, ask questions. If you're thinking it, there's probably someone else on the webinar that's thinking it as well. And that's really what makes these webinars so fun and engaging for the Pipeline team here. So please ask questions. We're here as a resource for all of you today. So, and then we will answer some as we go if they kind of fit into the flow of the webinar, but we'll save time at the end for Q&A as well. So So that's my housekeeping. The other thing is that the webinar is recorded. So we'll be sending out a recording of the webinar, as well as some resources. If we, have any resources that we want to share in writing, we'll share those as well, like a link to the knowledge base and all that kind of good stuff. So with that, let's jump in and talk about our agenda for today. So the first thing we're going to do is talk very briefly about the product portal. So this is where you can add ideas that make it directly to our product and engineering teams. You can add votes on existing ideas and all that kind of good stuff. Then we're going to be going into an overview of the changes that we've made to automations. So we'll be taking a deep dive into everything that we have added and changed and all of the new functionality. We'll also do a deep dive then into triggers, and we'll go over some examples. Kimberly's going to share some examples of automations that, she has kind of either helped some accounts set up to streamline their workflows, and really just show some best practices for the ways that you can utilize automations, and also utilize some of the exciting changes that we've added and the enhancements that we've added as well. And then, as I mentioned, we'll also save time at the end for the Q&A. So
I'm going to pop up a poll really quickly just to get that in front of you guys. There will be a poll similar to a previous webinar at the start and at the end. It's just to gauge your comfortability and knowledge of our current feature rollouts here. So it's going to be a single choice, and you should see it on your screen now.
So if you are, if you're feeling like you are, an expert on automations and the new changes that we've added, that would be awesome. And you could be running this webinar, which would be great. So feel free to add that. If you're really just hearing of all these new changes for the first time, if you haven't gotten any kind of insight into the new updates, we'd love to hear that as well. So awesome. Thank you all so much for adding in your responses here. It's really helpful for us. Also, just so that we can understand what we can be doing better to get information to our customers on updates and, enhancements that we're adding to the platform. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for adding that in there. And we will jump in and talk through the product feedback portal. Very briefly, because I know a lot of you are actually very engaged in the product feedback portal, and I want to give a big thank you to all of you that have added ideas or added votes in the product feedback portal. So quick overview. Under the help icon, you'll see the ideas option here. And that's where you can go into our product feedback portal. And this is where you can either add new ideas that you want to see, things that would make your life easier as you're, navigating and using Pipeline on a daily basis. You can also go in and search for existing ideas. So if you're like, this is such a good idea that I bet it's already in here, go in and search for it. And then you can go in and add your votes. You can see here that under our top ideas, we have a number of users that have added the vote on the ability to send text messages from the platform. So you could go in and vote. You can also let us know if this is critical to your workflow or maybe just relatively important, or if you're like, actually, this really isn't important at all. You can let us know that as well. So the product feedback portal is really what we use to drive our product roadmap. So automations, for example, the reason that we as a product team decided to invest, almost a quarter of our team's time on this feature enhancement was because we had received a lot of feedback from our customers on, we want to be able to create automations that are triggered around time. So, that was a really big overhaul for our team to be able to create automations that were triggered around specific date fields. But because we understood that a lot of our customers needed this functionality for their workflows, that, kind of made a lot of sense for us so that we could, help you guys manage your days better. So that is my quick plug for the product feedback portal, and just a big shout out and thank you to anyone that's added ideas in there as well. And you can go through and browse and just kind of see, things that other people have added, and then also look by status and see, what's either delivered or in development or planned soon as well. So think that's it on the product feedback portal. Let's go back to our slide deck here and talk through some of the enhancements that we've made to the automations section. So automations have a brand new look and feel. So what does that actually mean? I don't want anyone on here thinking, well, the pipeline team, they just made it look different, and now it's harder for me to manage my day. That is not our intention whatsoever. The goal here with changing the look and the feel of the automations was to really have the automation section now mimic the rest of the application. So, all of those sort of flows that you're used to, whether it's on you're creating a new task template, or something like that. Those are very similar flows now that you would have within the automation section. So really just trying to make that user experience much smoother. The other thing that you'll notice is that the automation section is now integrated within the account settings. So it's an easier workflow to go from your automations back into the account settings, and just a much kind of cleaner and easier way to create new automations. We also introduced the ability to create folders for your automations. So whether or not you are an account that's been with us for a long time, or a new account that's just getting in and starting to create new automations, it's an easier way to organize your automations and find those in the future. So if you've been with us for 5 or 10 years, you might have a significant number of automations. Get those organized so that you can find them easier. And I'll walk through what that foldering looks like here in a moment. So that there's our foldering. And let's go here into the new layout. We also changed the layout of the automation section to stack the triggers and actions. So just to kind of make, again, a more streamlined and smooth workflow, and to also kind of adjust, because now you have all of the account settings options over on the left. So just to kind of account for that space configuration. And also there are other automations tools that work quite similarly in this sort of more vertical fashion. So that is quick overview. So let's dive in to the account settings and take a look. So if you're new to automations, there's probably one question that you're first asking is, how do I find automations? So within the account settings under my profile, you can scroll down here on the left, and you will see the automations section here. So if you're new to automations, we've included a tooltip that will walk you through kind of a flow of different steps to create a new automation. So again, after this webinar, if you're like, I can't quite remember what the triggers versus actions and all of that kind of was, you can always utilize the flow to get a second overview of the automations section. So that is that. So to create new folders, you would just click Manage Automations Folders, create new folders, and you can edit or delete any folders that you have created. In order to move automations, you would just drag and drop and move them over into the specific folder that you want to move them into. Creating new automations, we've moved that button into the upper right-hand corner, again, to just mimic the other areas of the account settings so that it's a consistent and similar workflow for everyone. So creating a new automation is a very simple process. You just want to give the automation a name, and then you would choose the folder that you want that automation to appear in. So one of the major changes that we've added to the automation section is the ability to create time-based triggers. So time-based triggers, they are revolving around a date field within either that deal, company, or person record. So things that are examples of a time-based automation is 7 days before a deal expected close date, I want to send a notification to that user reminding them that that deal is expected to close. So for those of you that have been with Pipeline for a while, you will know that this previously wasn't something that you could do easily. You also couldn't create automations that were based around inactivity. So for instance, a deal, the latest activity on a deal was over 10 days ago. Now I want to send a notification to that user's manager, letting them know that that deal is stalled. These are all things that you can do with time-based triggers. And it's super exciting change to our automation section that we're really hoping will kind of allow our users to much more easily, keep deals moving through the pipeline, make sure that contacts are being followed up on, and things are just not slipping through the cracks. So you'll see here that in case you forget, like what's a data change or a time-based trigger, we've added a tooltip here. So as an example, 1 day before an expected close date, let's do this. So they're just revolving around date fields within your account. So when you're first creating the automation, you have to choose whether you want to use a data change or a time-based change in order to choose the rest of the options within the automation. So that's a huge change that we've made, and super excited to see, how people are enjoying this. As a product manager, again, I really do value that feedback that we get from customers. So I would love to hear, if this is helping, or if there are other things that you would like to see within the automations, we'd love to hear it. The other thing to note is, some of the other things that you can do with data changes is we expanded the trigger options. So you can now create automations triggers based around any custom or system, deal, company, or person field. So again, if we have any automations power users on the webinar today, you'll know that in the past, there were some things that you could do, and then there were some gaps in the ability to create triggers. So we're really excited because it's a comprehensive now ability to create triggers based on any of those system or custom fields on any record type. So that's a super exciting change. The other thing is we've allowed you to move deals between pipelines, and I think Kimberly's going to show us an example of that when she talks through. But that's a big improvement. You can move deals between pipelines, either copying or moving with or without activities. So she's going to show us that here in a second. So I think that's it for the kind of higher level overview. We're going to go into some examples now, and Kimberly's going to show us some of those best practices for creating automations, utilizing the folders. Why might you want to create folders? That sort of thing. And we'll be here answering questions. If you have any questions on is this a good use for automations or is this not, please feel free to put those into the question box. We'll answer those as we go here. But Kimberly, I think that's it. Have I covered everything that set you up for success for the rest of the webinar?
Yes,
Okay.
Sounds great. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And I do see a question in the box here, and it does reference a specific automation that I can definitely set up for you. So the question that is set, and we'll just start here, and then I can run through all of my examples that I've got kind of banked. David asked, can the automation triggers send personalized notifications to different stakeholders? Example, customer gets one and the sales rep gets another. So our automations right now, any notifications that are sent, because you do have the ability to send a notification, it is an internal based email. So it will only be sent to users of Pipeline. So you could definitely send one to the sales rep, and then the sales rep can go ahead and send an email on their own behalf. Definitely something that we're looking at. Great feedback. And I can definitely add that to the product portal, as we mentioned earlier.
Well, and as product manager here on this call, I do just want to let the participants on today's webinar know that creating automated email campaigns is something that's on our product roadmap. Really, really excited to let everyone know that that's something that is coming. So
you're spoiling the teaser early.
I'm sorry. I was just too excited.
We usually do it. We did a tease of the automations at the last product webinar, if you attended. But it's all good. The automations campaigns are going to be, or the email campaigns and the automations there are going to be, the integration there is going to be just great. So I'm going to mark that off as answered live. And we're going to dive into some examples. If there's a particular problem set that you're thinking of right now, go ahead and pop it in that question and answer box. And Lauren and Annie can either bring it to my attention and we can run through it live. But I'm going to take you through a couple situations that have come up over the past few weeks for me. So you can see, like Annie mentioned, our automation folders that we have here. I'm trying to move our cameras out of the way. There we go. Okay, so we've got our automation folders. I've created a couple folders. I've been using my test account for a while, so I've got quite a few automations. So I'm going to tab through them quickly. We've got deal changes. I bucketed anything that could impact a deal change. I've got task related, people automations, and company automations. If you have attended a webinar with me or a training with me, you're going to know that I'm really passionate about our task templates and the time-saving efforts that they can really provide for you. So I'll definitely be highlighting that today in a way that you can apply your automations to make those work for you. But first and foremost, we're going to go ahead and create a brand new automation. And one that I get a lot, a question that I get quite often from a couple of my larger accounts is, how do I clean up my pipeline, or how can I make sure that we're staying on top of those older deals? So what we're going to do is we're going to title this as deal aged, and we're going to put it at, let's do 90 days. Let's say like we're super aggressive. So we're going to say deal aged 90 days. We're going to put this in our deal changes automation folder, and we're going to say close out lose deals older than 90 days. So what we're going to do is, this will be our first time-based automation here. So we're going to select time-based, and then so that's our when. So when a time-based change occurs, we're going to say after 90 days after a deal's, we're going to say expected close date. And this is where you choose your time. So you choose a specific time of day for this automation to trigger. So you can set it at the start of your day, you can start it at the end of your day. Either way, that time will hold steady throughout the life of this automation. So we're going to pick 8 a.m. and we're going to say 90 days after a deal's expected close date, add a condition, and we're going to say expected close date. I don't know why I keep trying to do is not empty, Annie. Like every single time I try to go is not empty. I use a lot of automations and a lot of different triggers, so sometimes my brain can stop. But this is a good example of the warnings that we have now enabled within our automation settings. So you used to be able to just delete, move, change different triggers, different actions, and those types of things, and you wouldn't receive any type of warning. It would just reset your form. So now you'll receive this pop-up here, and then if I was to change from a deal to a company, or change this after save, it would notify me, hey, you're about to lose all of your triggers, all of your actions. Are you sure you want to proceed with this action? And I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. So we're going to stick with 90 days after a deal's expected close date at 9 a.m. And then we're going to say do this. So typically with the time-based triggers as well, you may not have additional actions that apply, and that's totally okay. It's just really how granular and how specific you want to be with different automations and different actions. So in this case, I don't have any additional actions, so I'm going to move on to my actual do this or action item. We're going.
Oops, sorry, Kim, I was just gonna mention that an example here of like adding an additional condition could be, maybe you have one team that wants to close out their deals after 90 days, but another team, maybe they want to actually wait and close out their deals after 365 days. So you could say, and the deal owner is, this user, only if the deal owner is that user, then do this. So that's kind of an example of the conditions allow you to be more specific with which deals, or whichever record type in this example, it's a deal, is actually going to trigger this automation to run. So I just wanted to make that clear. If you are newer to automations, you might be thinking, what are the triggers? So this is, if all of these conditions are true, so you could get very, very specific with what sort of deals would trigger that. I hope that makes sense. So you're doing great. Can continue to the actions.
No problem. Thanks for the support there. So in terms of the 90 days after deal's expected close date, and then we went ahead and applied Annie's condition there. So her example of the owner's team is not sales team. We're going to update the deal. So when you run through the actions, I'm just going to show that again really quickly for a deal specifically. And like Annie mentioned, all of the actions have been updated to be universal. So you should see a similar drop down available throughout your creation of automations. So if create a task, create a new deal, send a notification, AKA an email, apply a to-do template, call an API, update a custom field, or update a deal. So in this case, we're going to select update a deal. And what update a deal means in pipeline speak is it means you're updating the stage of said deal. Not updating a custom field or a system field, you're updating the actual physical deal stage. So we're gonna go ahead and select out of our sales pipeline, we're gonna select lost. And we're going to put deal owner as triggered deal owner. Triggered deal owner is a way to target your entire account. That way you don't have any of those deals that slip through the cracks or maybe fall by the wayside. And again, this triggered deal owner will only apply if they are not a member of the sales team. And you saw that I had multiple teams available. So anyone that is not on the sales team, their deal will close out after 90 days. If those deals are in one pipeline, so say expected close date for is in if you have multiple pipelines, if you have multiple pipelines, that's where these actions here at the bottom will come into play. So if you have deals in, I have an expansion pipeline and I have a project pipeline. So if I have a deal that's older than 90 days with an expected close date older than 90 days, it's going to move it to my sales pipeline because I have move selected here. You can choose to copy with or without activities. This is a great way to track your actions, but also keep those deals reporting respectively in their own pipelines. I prefer move because your activity feed will give you that whole history, but it's really a matter of opinion. And I'm going to go ahead and activate.
If you're also unclear on what multiple pipelines are or how that could be helpful for your workflow, and we also have a webinar on multiple pipelines that is a great resource. We can include that, and I'll make a note here because multi-pipeline is wonderful.
Yeah. So what you'll notice is once that deal has been activated, or once that automation has been activated and saved, it will automatically pop you into that folder that it has been, that automation has been delineated to. So you'll see that I've got deal age 90 days, last run never, and it's already on for me. Here is where you can toggle to turn an automation on or off. And again, this will impact the entire account, and it will, based on the triggers that you have set, but I like to say that it will impact your entire account. And then you are also able to clone and or delete automation. So if you have one that's here that's turned off and it says last run never, that might be a good candidate for deletion. I'm going to leave it alone because I like that automation. But if we're going to clone it, so say you have deals age 90 days, we went through that time-based setup where we put in our conditions and, maybe I do want it to apply to the rest of the teams. You can go ahead and clone this automation and create an exact copy of your previously saved and activated automation. It will come through as off, so that way you can make any changes and updates to it beforehand. So we can just click in here, you update your name. We could say maybe that this is aged 180 days, not 1800. Change this 90 to 180. And here is where you get that screen pop where you're about to update an automation. So it says you're about to change the automation trigger and you'll lose the work on this automation so far. Please confirm you wish to continue. Now, we did not select a different record type. We're simply changing the day marker. So we're going to go ahead and hit that confirm, and we'll see that that reset the remaining actions. So I'm going to go ahead and populate that 180 in here. I'm not going to add a condition to this one. And then we'll say we're going to update the deal again. We're going to put it as triggered deal owner, back to lost. And this time we're going to copy it with activities. So I made a couple changes, cleared out the conditions there for us, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So we've got those saved, and now we have deals aged 90 days, deals aged 180 days, and I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. Just slightly different with cloning, slightly different actions, a couple different things there. I do know that we have a question in the box.
We got a question from Andy. Also, hi, Andy. We absolutely can do this. Andy wants to know if you can be specific, so add a condition for the specific pipeline. So do you want to go in maybe even just one that you created, or we can create a new one?
So can you do an automation notification based on deals in a specific pipeline?
Pipeline.
Yes.
So, yeah, so we could do the same time-based automation. There we go. And then, so you could say on the deal's expected close date, for example, at 10 a.m. And then under the conditions, we just want to say, and you can just type in pipeline there. Deal pipeline equals is, and then project pipeline. So that's where you can kind of narrow it down and say a project pipeline, they can stay in there. You know, we want to keep them in there for a year or something like that. So I hope that helps answer your question, Andy. Thanks so much for jumping in and asking that.
When you're creating those notifications, just for those that may have not created a notification within our automation tool, we do have the option for you to insert deal attributes, or as we like to call them, merge tags, into the notifications themselves. That way you can pre-populate that deal, person, or company information. So that way it helps you, it eliminates that like manual, oh my gosh, I got this notification, what is this for? And you can do the same thing here. You can type in user name or user emails that are using pipeline, or you can choose triggered deal owner, triggered deal owner's manager, account admins, basic users, and executive users. And again, you can get granular by putting in their exact email address as well. Great question, because the email notifications was exactly where I was going next. When you click into attributes, this is another small update. It's not as flashy as a new page or entering the account settings toolbar over there, but this is pretty exciting for me because I'm a very visual person, and I like how it has the name here and then what the attribute looks like in a nice red brackets. If you are in any kind of like developer role and or have experience there, this will look familiar to you, and it'll feel a lot more like, okay, I can click and move and stuff and see where those actions actually like are impacting. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the attributes are really helpful. And you know, I think that was a really good kind of call out there, Kimberly, because they're a little bit hidden, but we just wanted to kind of make it streamlined. But the attributes are wonderful for those notifications. You can include attributes in the subject line. So, you know, an example of this is even we use this internally when a deal is closed. You know, we say, congratulate the deal owner for closing this deal or that sort of thing. So really, really helpful because you're actually adding context. You're not really just like sending a kind of form email, if that makes sense. So, and you can include custom fields in the attributes as Kimberly is showing us here. So we kind of help to divide that out. So that is, yeah, we have all of the custom and system fields as attributes for those notifications. Turn it back over to you, Kimberly.
No, you're good. I am in a public space today. I'm in a co-working space, and it went really dark because it's been very stormy where I'm at. So I got a little panicky there for a minute.
No, you're all good. We
Okay.
still got you. Kimberly
good
is the
deal.
ultimate problem solver here, as those of you know. All right, so thank you guys all so much for jumping in and asking questions. So we have one that just came into the Q&A box. Is there an opportunity to track emails outside of sending a campaign? Example, if all the contacts are listed under the people section of Pipeline, when a group email goes out, right now, Pipeline doesn't track that email. It would be helpful. It would be helpful for that group email could be tracked under the individual person contact outside of just sending a campaign. So we're taking a little bit of a turn here just to email. And for those of you that are not familiar with our email campaigns functionality, email campaigns allow you to send out email blasts up to 1,000 contacts per blast. So we have a question here that's asking if you're not necessarily just sending a campaign, but you are sending an email in the people section from, say, a deal, or I think it's from the deal, Kimberly, correct? You can send out an email to all of the contacts on that deal. Right now, that is not tracked just because of the way that email is actually sending. It's including all of those contacts like in the same email, not in like individual emails, really. So that's definitely, feedback that we can add to the product, to the feedback portal, as something that would be helpful as we kind of look at the different ways to improve the email functionality. Because I can definitely understand the use case there. I would have to speak to my team and see sort of I don't want to overcommit to anything. So we'll
You can
add.
always send that group email as a campaign if you want to track it.
You
Put them
could
all.
you
there as a
could
campaign.
you could filter on the list view, correct, for
Yeah.
the deal association, and then send that as like a bulk action from the list view, and that would allow you to track, and send that as a campaign. So unfortunately, that's the main workaround for that right now. So let's see.
In terms of tasks, so I'm just going to snatch it back for just a second. I love to highlight the different task automations that you can do here within Pipeline, and to build it out, right? So we're going to come back in to create a new automation, and this time we're going to put it in our task related. So if you've ever attended, and I know I've mentioned this before, but if you've ever attended a training with me, or you've attended maybe the onboarding day-to-day use training, I go over the importance of task templates and how they can help really set you up for success in terms of your day. And I know we've talked about time-based triggers, so I'm going to focus in on a database trigger for just a second here. And we're going to do task template addition today. So we're going to do data change, and then our when is going to be when a person is updated. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in when all of these conditions are true. I'm going to put in I'm so sorry.
You're good. We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that the LinkedIn URL it changes to, or is not, wait, no, hold on. Was not blank. There we go. I want was not blank. So if the LinkedIn URL is not blank, and then I want to do any of these conditions are true, and I'll say that the type is lead. So any person that has been created with a LinkedIn URL that is not blank, and these conditions, any of these conditions, so the type is lead. So you've got a new lead that has a LinkedIn URL. We're going to apply a task template. So this is where that to-do template comes into play. I call them task templates because it's associating quite a number of tasks in a bulk action. Similar to our time-based triggers, they're set up, the logic follows. You'll notice that a lot within Pipeline, our logic is buildable. So we're going to apply a to-do template. And then I'm going to pop in leads qualifying template. This is a system generated template. And I'm using this one on purpose because I can get a little crazy with my task templates and add like 25 tasks to one template. So task owner will be the triggered person owner. So we reviewed triggered deal owner. Now I'm talking triggered person owner. This is really great for anyone that is cross collaborating within a team. But let's say I want to get granular about it and I want to say like, okay, this is a LinkedIn URL contact and follow up. I want Bob to focus on this, no matter who owns this person, no matter who adds this person or how this person gets into my system. I want Bob to be responsible for it. So Bob is going to have these 5 or 6 tasks to do every time a person is created with a LinkedIn URL and the type of lead. So I'm going to go ahead and hit activate on that. And now it is live and Bob is going to get all of his tasks assigned to him in a very organized manner. I had to resist the urge to jump into the task templates. The sound is getting a little bit crazy here. So Annie, I'm gonna hand it to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me share my screen and I'm going to jump into the task templates and we'll talk through that really quickly here. Let's go do this one. All right. Okay, so as I mentioned, one of the things that we also changed within the automation section was the ability to quickly go to different areas of the account settings. So we can easily pop back over here into the account settings, over into tasks and events. So the tasks and events give us the ability to create to-do templates. So to-do templates are basically a series of tasks or events. And in the example that Kimberly just gave us, we had that automatically apply so that Bob received a series of tasks that were assigned to him at a set duration. So on day 0, day 1, day 3, day 5, all the way until, maybe that deal closes. So task templates, again, are a really, really great way to easily, kind of remove that sort of like manual effort of every time a deal is created, you're adding the same task over and over. To-do templates allow you to quickly, apply a series of tasks. So you would just go in and choose the to-do templates and then add a new to-do template in the upper right-hand corner and give the to-do template a name. So maybe in that example, we have our LinkedIn cadence. So we will say here, LinkedIn cadence. And this is just for a person. So we would choose for people records. So for that would be the record type that we can apply this template to is a person. You could choose others if you wanted it to be available on a deal as well. We could check that box, but for this, we'll just say person. And then we would just say, on a specific day after the template is applied. So on day 0 is the day that the template was applied. Anything after that would be, the day after the template was applied, if that makes sense. So day 0 we'll say is our first LinkedIn message. LinkedIn message 1, and we'll just choose, this is just a to-do. And then we'll choose the priority. So this is also something that we've rolled out within the last 6 months with the ability to choose task priority levels. So that you can then filter your tasks down to just show you your high priority level tasks during the day. So we'll set this as, it's the first LinkedIn message. We'll say it's high priority, and then we'll add another task. And we'll say, 5 days later, Bob's sending another LinkedIn message. I'm not a salesperson, so please, for those salespeople on the call, I'm sorry if this is not the best way to go about our outbound, but we'll do that. And then we'll say, maybe we'll give it a little bit of a break and we'll say 15 days later, LinkedIn message. Work with a lot of salespeople, but there we go. And then we'll set this one as maybe lower. So we can create that to-do template. And then that is now available to apply in the automation section as Kimberly just demonstrated. So as Kimberly
You can
noted,
have multiple. You can have multiple task templates.
Yes, exactly. So you can have multiple, we have a number that of task templates that we apply by default. So if you're a newer account, you'll see a couple of them in there as just kind of brainstorming. They can get you started. You could edit those default templates that we have set for you, or you can create new ones here. So again, this is just, you know, as Kimberly mentioned, we kind of have these concepts that layer on top of each other. So it's like step one, maybe you'd want to go in, create some automations, get a feel for them. Then you could come back, create some to-do templates to utilize in conjunction with the automations. So, so that is how the to-do templates work. Let's see. So I'm just keeping an eye on the Q&A box. We are at 15, we have 15 minutes left in the webinar. So time flies when you're having fun. Please jump in and ask any questions. If as we mentioned before, if you would like us to kind of run through, if you're thinking, could I use automations for this? Feel free to ask in the question box and we'd be happy to demo that or take a look and see if it's something that we could do and do that here live. If there's any other questions as well, just anything that we covered that wasn't necessarily clear and you want us to revisit, we'd be happy to do that now as well. So I think we're kind of into the Q&A portion of today's webinar, unless Kimberly would like to demo anything else for us.
There was just one section that I didn't get to because of the craziness. The activities. So building an automation around an activity type or an activity. Yes.
Okay, absolutely. Do you want me to show as an example of that? Okay, perfect. So back over in the automation section, we'll just go to create a new automation. And then we would choose, again, our data change automation. So as an example here, you could say when an activity, so again, I'm just gonna maybe pull up a quick record here because I know I said this is advanced, but I really just want to make sure that it's clear to everyone like what an activity is. So an activity is on a profile page. It's the notes that you're adding in here to a deal person or company. It's those notes about your call, it's your meeting, overview, all of that kind of good stuff. So just so we're all on the same page. So an activity is did you want to say created or updated, Kimberly? What's sort of from your customer success perspective, when have you experienced that? Okay, I think we may have lost Kimberly, so I'm just going to show from my perspective. So we could say when an activity is created, then maybe we could add some conditions and we could say, the content contains, and you can apply any text here. So the content contains, follow-up. Then you could apply a task to that user. So we could say, actually just send a notification to, again, we have our all of our smart user types. So the activity owner, the account admins or things like that. And then use the subject and the body attributes as well. Perfect. So there's some questions coming into the Q&A box. I just want to get those answered. Awesome. So Diana asked if there's a place to find previous webinar recording. Absolutely. And we'll share a link to the webinar recordings. We have a number of product webinars that we've run on. The last one was on our advanced visibility settings. And we can share a link to those in the knowledge base in the follow-up email. And then let's see, we have a question here from Eric. Just to confirm, any task, template, or to-do actions must be tied to an automation, correct? Being mindful of the number of automations in use. That is such a good question, Eric. Thank you so much for asking that. So I do, let me answer that here by pulling up a deal record. And showing here, you can apply templates on a specific deal manually. So you don't necessarily have to just use an automation to apply a template, you can choose the the task template from the agenda section, and you can apply that on a specific, deal, company, person, or customer manually. So if we wanted to say that, apply our that template, it would set all those tasks. So feel free to create as many templates as you want. You can manually apply them. You can also set defaults. So that would be anytime a new person, company, deal, or customer is added, apply that template. So if we go down here to our task and events, and then to do templates and choose edit, you'll see this option that says set as default. So again, anytime any of these record types are added, it's going to apply that template. So I hope that answers your question, Eric. And let's say we answer that. Okay. Here we go. All right. And then we have another question in here. The use of time-based to-do templates have been a game changer for our company, and the ability to follow up with our customers over the several days leading up to a potential sale a few weeks later. Well, thank you so much, Lee. As a product manager, I really, really appreciate the positive feedback. It's wonderful to hear how the work that we're putting in has been helpful for our customers. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. And then let's see. Would we be able to trigger an email campaign in MailChimp using the automations feature in Pipeline? That is a great question. I would actually suggest, let me just take a quick look. In automations, create new automation, and we'll just say created. So I believe that you could potentially do something like that if if you were a little more on the tech savvy side, or you had someone on your team that kind of helped with some of those like integration components. You could potentially utilize this call an API action. We also use this call an API action for our integration with Zapier. And we have a Zapier webinar. I'm referencing a lot of webinars, which I will include. I'm making a note here. There's a Zapier webinar that I think would be helpful for that as well. If you are, less kind of on that like tech side of integrating different tools, the Zapier webinar could be really helpful. You could definitely integrate Pipeline and MailChimp in that sense. The other thing is we have a MailChimp integration, but it's really just for, if you have people list views, you can push the people contacts over to MailChimp. It doesn't necessarily, automate the like sending of campaigns. So I'll include that Zapier webinar because I think that could be a good option for you there, David. All right. And there's another question. Can we include attachments or embed videos or media in the triggered internal notification? So the ability to add attachments right now is not, it's not included. We don't have the ability to embed videos. You could include a link to a video if it was hosted somewhere else, you could do that. But unfortunately right now, the ability to kind of like jazz it up with embedded or videos or HTML, you can't do any of that. So they're mostly just for kind of like simple internal notifications. But if down the road, if we kind of are hearing that request from more people, it could be something we could consider. So perfect. Okay. Thank you all so much for asking so many questions and being so engaged. I really, we run these webinars quite often, and it just makes it so much more fun to have questions coming in and, be able to kind of engage with everyone. I was previously a customer success manager, so I often feel it's a harder dynamic when I can't hear from everyone. So, oh, well, thank you so much, Andy. I really appreciate that. That is very, very nice of you. So thank you. Let's see. All right. Thank you all so much for all these questions. Kimberly is in a zone that lost power this morning. So she was the ultimate problem solver running around trying to get power to join this webinar. So it seems like maybe the library may have now lost power. And so I just want to give Kimberly a little shout out because she did a lot to try to be here. And it was very, very helpful, obviously, always having her. So all right. And then I guess while we're here kind of wrapping up and just some more questions are coming in, I just wanted to mention where you can get help. So if you have questions after this webinar, you can find our amazing customer care team. This is the phone number. Those of you that have been with Pipeline for a while know our customer care team is fantastic. I can't rave about them enough. You'll call this number. You're not going to get into a phone answering sort of black hole. You're going to call and speak to a real human right away. I work very closely with this team and they're just fantastic. So give a call, ask questions. We're here as a resource for you. The other thing you can do if you're less of a call person, if I'm a millennial, so picking up the phone is a little bit scarier, but I love calling. So it's the email functionality. You can email our team and then also chat with them as well. And then the knowledge base is full of great resources as well. So there's another question in the Q&A box. Can we set automations to tag a customer to organize them by categories? So thank you so much for that question. Adding a tag is not one of our options. We actually right now don't have tagging functionality on companies or customers. So that's not something you could, what I would suggest in that case would be to set the action. So if we just delete this action here, I can show you the action would be to update a custom field. So you could update the custom field to, whatever that, you could create a new custom field for the kind of like a mimicking a tag. And you could update that custom field, and then you could create a saved list view that was just filtered for that specific custom field. And that would be kind of a great way to utilize that functionality. So you just want to do update custom field. And then again, you just want to create that saved list view either on the person or the company, whichever record type, and have that filtered there. All right, so we're wrapping up here. We've got 4 minutes left, and I just wanted to launch the poll. I would love to hear, was this helpful? Do you feel like you're comfortable now jumping in and creating some automations? Do you want some more resources? I have a sticky note list full of some additional resources that we'll share with you all. But I would just love to hear, and that will help me kind of adjust, how we run these webinars moving forward as well. So please just let us know if you feel like proficient, if you feel like you're an expert, ready to go. If you need a little bit more documentation, that's absolutely fine. And we can share that with you as well. And again, you can always reach out to our care team if you have any kind of final questions there as well. So. So there's a question here from Karen. She just asked if there are person or company tags. I think it might be a slightly different terminology. Right now, we only have person tags here. So that's the, person tags. We don't have them for companies at the moment, but potentially down the road. It could be in your account if you have, like I said, a custom field that's maybe being used for kind of, segmenting out those different companies. And sorry, there's only person tags, not, maybe I wasn't clear there. There's only person tags, no company tags, and no deal tags. All right. See if there's any questions. I think that might be it on the questions. I just want to give a huge thank you to everyone that joined today. You guys might have been the most engaged group. This was really, really awesome. And I just appreciate everyone jumping in and asking questions. And please, we will be running these webinars every 6 weeks as we roll out new features. The last minute, so those of you that stuck around, we are currently working on a major overhaul to our reporting section and really putting more customization options in the hands of our users to create the reports that are going to be most valuable for you and your team. So please keep an eye out for those of you that are staying up to date on those product enhancements. We'll be rolling out here within the next couple of months those reporting enhancements. So thank you all so much again for joining. We really, really appreciate your attendance and your engagement, and we look forward to seeing you all next time. Thank you so much, Lauren, for being in here and answering questions. We appreciate you as well. So everyone enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you next time.